Welcome to our Zoom fellowship, Ecclesia, where each week we focus on a different chapter in the Bible. This week we focus on John 19, so get your Bible out and follow along with us as we take turns to share our thoughts on this important chapter in the Gospel of John. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so please leave them in the comment section below. We hope you are blessed.
I just wanted to comment on the last verse in chapter 18, which says, "Then cried they all again, saying, 'Not this man, but Barabbas.'" Now, Barabbas was a robber. He may have been a robber. However, Peter says in Acts 3, chapter 3, verse 14, "But ye denied the Holy One and the just, and desired a murderer to be granted unto you." So in my research, Barabbas was a robber, a murderer, and an insurrectionist, which would have put him on, what we would consider death row. The Jews hated Roman control, and I think that they seized an opportunity to get Barabbas released, and on their side, for the purpose of planning insurrections against their Roman oppressors. Now, that's just my thought on it. And let's see. Now, I realize in John 19:15, the Jews answered Pilate by saying, "We have no king but Caesar." But they were liars and murderers, just as Jesus told them back in John chapter 8:44, that they were of their father, the devil, and the lust of their father they will do. Now, chapter 9, verse 1 says, "Then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him." According to Roman law, once a person was found guilty of a capital offense, then scourging would take place prior to the crucifixion. Yet Pilate had Jesus scourged prior to any formal sentencing. As for the horrific punishment of scourging a person, the church historian Eusebius of Caesarea says, "For they say that the bystanders were struck with amazement when they saw them lacerated with scourges, even to the innermost veins and arteries, so that the hidden inward parts of the body, both their bowels and their members, were exposed to the view." And that's found in Ecclesiastical History, Book 4, Chapter 15. There seems to be no limit to the cruelty of man. And if the scourging wasn't enough, placing and forcing a band of sharp thorns on his head, along with a purple robe representing royalty to mock him, and the subsequent beating, punching him, and so forth. Verse 5, Pilate said unto them, after all of this, after scourging all this, "Behold the man." Could it be that Pilate was hoping that the people would see that Jesus was no threat to their establishment and that they would change their mind? I believe fear really gripped Pilate when Jesus said in verse 11 that "Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore, he that delivereth me unto thee hath the greater sin," which is referring to Caiaphas having the greater sin. It's interesting that in verse 14, Pilate said, "Behold your king," compared with his earlier statement, "Behold the man." Certainly, Pilate's encounter with Jesus was unlike any other that he had experienced as governor of Judea, or his entire life for that matter. It seems that Pilate was very disturbed at this point, and I don't think he was mocking Jesus when he said to the Jews in verse 15, "Shall I crucify your king?" However, I do believe that the Jews sealed their fate when they responded, "We have no king but Caesar." In Matthew, Matthew 27:25 says, "Then answered all the people and said, His blood be upon us and on our children." For centuries, they killed the prophets of God. And I'm going to read, I can find it here real quick. Matthew 23, verse 30 to 38. And it says in verse 30, "And say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore, ye be witnesses unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers. How can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify. Some of them ye shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, the son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stoneth them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate." And their house certainly was left desolate in 70 AD. I found it interesting that Pilate made it a point to write on a placard, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews," in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. And by saying, "What I have written, could it be that Pilate felt some conviction and he wanted the citizens in that area to understand his motive behind the words on the placard? Just a thought. John, being an eyewitness, records Jesus's remaining words before he gives up the spirit, such as, "Woman, behold thy son," and speaking to John, his disciple, "Behold thy mother," showing them and us how we, as his disciples, should care for one another. Galatians 6:10 says, "As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith." When John records Jesus's last words, "It is finished," my mind was just flooded with thoughts of what does that mean? What does that entail for them and for generations to come? Well, the short answer, I believe, can be found in Revelation 22:17, which says, And the Spirit and the bride say, Come. And let him that heareth say, Come. And let him that is athirst say, Come. And whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. And those are my thoughts.
Really good thoughts. You obviously put a lot of thought into these scriptures. So going back towards the start, you're saying that they chose a murderer and a robber over a just man, and that perhaps they wanted Barabbas for their own insurrection. I think that there were some Jewish revolts, weren't there, that happened?
Yeah. Yes.
Just prior to 70 AD, or that was a revolt, a Jewish revolt sparked the whole destruction of the temple, I think?
Well, they have had at different periods, especially the intertestamental period. They were like the Maccabees, those revolts and all that. But even just prior to 70 AD, they were revolting. And but I just looked at it as if they could like enlist, those who also hated the existing government, and to overthrow it or whatever. They had no problem with that because they had warring factions and disagreements within their own system, kind of like we have Republicans, Democrats, and all these others, but and they appear to always be fighting one another and all, but they did have they couldn't get along. The Pharisees, Sadducees, and there was another group, and I can't think of the name now. Besides those two groups, that they're always all that infighting going on. But so they're doing that, and also they're trying to resist and rebel against the authorities, whoever they may be. In this situation, of course, it's Rome.
Yeah, and you mentioned how the Jews had a history of killing prophets.
Yes.
Yes, maybe not so strange that they would prefer a murderer over a just man to be released unto them. Yeah, what else? That actually, I'm interested what you brought out, the fact that Pilate had Jesus scourged before any official sentence. I noticed that as well. I thought, hang on, these Roman soldiers are mocking him and scourging him. He hasn't even been sentenced yet. And like you mentioned, I can't remember the author of a book called The Ecclesiastical History. Is it chapter 4, book 15?
I think it says book 4, chapter 15.
Oh,
yeah,
the wrong way around. What's his name, that fella?
Eusebius, and that's Eusebbius.
Okay.
And he was a church historian of Caesarea.
Right. So yeah, that sounds really gruesome, talking about the nature of scourging.
Because apparently when the Jews would scourge, it was more of it was a whipping. its intent was not to rip the flesh open and all that, but and that they would stop. Normally, they would stop at 39. But it didn't have. I mean, it certainly inflicted pain, but it didn't have the same results as what the Roman scourging with like the cat of nine tails. I mean, it was which actually ripped the flesh open, and that was definitely the difference between night and day.
Yeah. So Pilate had Jesus scourged, and then he brought him out to the Jews and said, "Behold the man." So Jesus would have been looking not too good at that point. And yet he was dressed up as though he were a king, I suppose, in the purple robe and the crown of thorns. Wonder who thought if a scourging would be enough. It's like, done this, isn't that enough? He didn't really want to send him to be crucified. What was it where the Jews said, "Let the blood be upon our children and our children's children"?
Back in Matthew 27, verse 25.
Okay. So they were accepting responsibility basically for the crucifixion. Say, because did Pilate in that chapter say he was washing the blood off his own hands?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
possibly, but I'm not.
I have to have a look at that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just go over to Matthew 27. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, "Art thou the king of the Jews?" And Jesus said unto him, "Thou sayest." And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, "Hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee?" And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at the feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner, whom they would, and they had them a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, "Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ?" For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. So Pilate knew that the Jews had delivered him for envy. They were envious. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, "Have thou nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said unto them, "Whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you?" They said, "Barabbas." Pilate saith unto them, "What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ?" They all say unto him, "Let him be crucified." And the governor said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out the more, saying, "Let him be crucified." When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it." So it's when he saw that there was nothing he could do, there was a tumult. I'll just look at what tumult is. It's an uproar, a breach of public order, a clamorous and excited multitude. yeah, then he's like, well, what can I do? So he just washed his hands. I'm innocent of the blood of this just person. And yet he had him scourged, even though he thinks he's an innocent person. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and on our children. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Oh, there it's saying he was scourged.
Yeah, that's, and I saw that too. It seems confusing.
Oh, no.
And I would think, now this is just me thinking, that John gives a really descriptive, like a play-by-play of what's going on. Because I feel that John, I think he was there for all of it, even at the cross. So where Mary and Mary's sister and Mary Magdalene, the three Marys were there along with John. Well, where was everyone else at? So I don't know John's account versus Matthew's account, and I'm not sure about the others like Mark or Luke, if they say something similar to Matthew. But it makes it sound like he was scourged after this sentencing. So
it does in this chapter.
Yeah.
But you see how all the people said, his blood be on us and on our children. They were saying, okay, well, we'll take the hit on this then, as long as it gets done.
I mean, they really did. They sealed their fate by saying that, because it happened. I mean, their children, it was horrendous what happened to them during those years of the siege, of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Where they were starving, and all that fighting going on even within the city. And
that's right.
I was just looking up Mark, and it seems like Mark says the same thing, that that the scourging happened after like Barabbas was released. So I'm not sure what to make of it, but I was trying to see what Luke said about it, but I'm not finding it yet. Okay, and it just says that Pilate says, well, I have found no cause of death in him, so I will therefore chastise him and let him go. So whatever they heard, huh?
Oh, it says that, does it?
It says chastise, and that's in Luke 23:22. Yeah.
So that was his plan. Chastise him and then let him go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But the chief priest apparently won the argument. They prevailed.